Okay, let's take a look at question 3 from homework 14. If you've already watched the video for 2, you've seen me talk about this formula here. If you don't want to sit and watch that again, just fast forward the video until I start scrolling down the page a bit. Otherwise, if you're not 100% comfortable with this, or you just want to watch it again to make sure you do get 100% comfortable with it, let's talk about what this formula means. You've seen it in lecture. You've seen it in the Moodle notes. It's defined there pretty clearly, but I'm just going to put this into average, everyday words for you. Take a little bit of the mystery of math out of it. So our A here, this is going to be the amount at the end of whatever time period that we're looking at. So basically, all of these things are about investing a certain amount of money, or starting with a certain amount of money, or starting with something, ending up with something else based on some sort of a interest rate or a inflation rate, something like that over a certain amount of time. So this A here is just the amount that we want to end up with, or the amount that we did end up with, depending on the question. The P here, the principal, that's the amount that we start out with. It's the money that's invested. It's the first thing, the first amount of money that we start out with, or the amount of items that we start out with in these questions. E is just E. It's a number. It's the constant E. It's the button on your calculator that says E. It's the same E that we've been working with in the past couple of homeworks with the natural logs and E's. It's just that. And so we'll treat it the same way we've been treating it. R is our interest rate, the rate that things are changing. And T is just the time in years, and those are the only pieces. There are 4 pieces to this this formula that we could potentially fill in, and every one of the questions in this homework set is going to give you 3 of those 4 pieces, basically. So where is this piece, the amount at the end? Well, if we read through the question, we want to end up with $10,000. So that would be where what we would plug in for A. How much did we start out with? Well, if we started with an investment of $6,000, our P is 6,000. E, like I said, doesn't change. That's something that's going to be there. You're not going to do anything other than treat it like E. Interest rate. Well, what's our interest rate? That's the puzzle piece we don't have. So we need to find our interest rate. That's the whole point of this question. And then T, time in years, well, they told us that it's 4 years. So we have 3 of the 4 pieces, which is all that we need to solve this, this question for R. Okay? So let's scroll down a little bit here. So we need to solve for R, so what we do is plug in everything that we know. We know that A is $10,000. That's the amount that we wanted to end up with. We know that P, what we started out with, was 6,000. E stays the same. We don't know what R is, so we'll just leave the R there. And we know that the time in years was 4. So we have 10,000 equals 6,000 E to the R times 4. I'm just going to switch the R and the 4 around because that's how we usually do it. We usually have the number before the variable. I'm not really changing anything. So basically what we're going to do is try to get this E to the 4R. This is E to the 4R here. We want to get it by itself so that we can solve for R. So just like we were doing in the last homework set where we were solving for T on a lot of them, the first thing we had to do was get E to that exponent by itself so that we can take natural logs of both sides of the equation. But let's get E by itself. So we've got 10,000 equals 6,000 E to the 4R. Okay, well, I can divide both sides by 6,000. That gives me 10,000 over 6,000 equals E to the 4R. And if I simplify that, I get 5 over 3 equals E to the 4R. Okay, so I've got my E by itself now. I've got E here to the point where I can take a natural log of both sides of this. So let's do that. Natural log of 5/3 equals the natural log of E to the 4R. This just kind of stays the same when we kind of figure out how to get everything taken care of over here. Well, since we took the natural log, we can bring down the exponent. That gives us 4R times the natural log of E. But we know that the natural log of E is 1. So basically what we've got is the natural log of 5/3 equals 4R. Now to get R by itself so that we can finish solving, we need to divide both sides by 4. So we get the natural log of 5/3 over 4 equals r. And then you just plug that into your calculator. You're going to get r equals something. In this case, it was r equals 0.127706. That's the same as 12.77%. Be sure that your rates are in percents. If we're solving for r, you're going to end up with something that's a decimal. You want to multiply that times 100 to get what you're actually looking for. Okay? So because this is a rate and we're doing it as a percent, you need to make sure that whatever you've solved for in your calculator, this is what your calculator is going to spit out. You need to multiply that by 100 before you are able to actually plug that answer into WebAssign. Okay? So multiply by 100, that's going to move the decimal place over 2 places, and once you've done all the rounding that you need to do, that gives us 12.77%. Another word of advice, if you're not getting the numbers to come out correctly, make sure you're using enough parentheses when you're entering things into the calculator. You want to make sure that your entire numerator is in parentheses, and also that the fraction in your natural log is in parentheses. And that should get you through this one.